name is Michael Ward, and tonight I'm sitting in for Anderson Cooper for this special program. Welcome to the Chad's Vask News Network, or CNN. This special health report will address the issue of innovation in healthcare by examining the Chad's Vask validated scoring system embedded in the MedCalc mobile app as an illustration of an application designed to augment clinical decision-making, while in the broader context we will examine app-based mobile health decision support systems. So what is mobile health? Mobile health, or mHealth, is regarded as the use of mobile computing and communication technologies in healthcare and public health. Technological convergence and digital convergence has not only produced a remarkable expansion of the market for smartphone and tablet devices, but also a proliferation of the market for mobile apps, with a more recent escalation in apps dedicated to bolstering clinical practice decision-making, with reference to evidence-based guidelines. This is consistent with Maguire's observations and writings in The Power of Mobility. Christensen, Grossman, and Wang indicate that disruptive innovation requires that leadership confronts these prevailing realities and understand the potential innovative collaboration between technological convergence and the realities of a health system that continues to focus on crisis management as opposed to health management. So let's take a look at the problem that this innovation project addresses. Atrial fibrillation is the most common type of cardiac rhythm disturbance, occurring in 1 to 2% of the general population. This rhythm carries a significant risk of morbidity and mortality, specifically from stroke or thromboembolism. Precisely, atrial fibrillation imparts a 5-fold risk of stroke and is implicated in 20% of all strokes. As such, atrial fibrillation is the principal cause of neurologic disability and death, depending on the severity of the stroke. Therefore, prevention of atrial fibrillation-related complications is contingent upon antithrombotic therapy. As such, a substantial evidence base exists to support the use of anticoagulation therapy as a means to offer protection against cardioembolic phenomenon, either stroke or thromboembolism, in patients with atrial fibrillation. Let's take a closer look at what is known about this problem. Atrial fibrillation is characterized by disorganized electrical activity in the atria, resulting in an irregular, often fast heartbeat. Atrial fibrillation predisposes the patient to clot formation, originating in the atria or the left atrial appendage in particular. Ultimately, a cardioembolic stroke can occur. Atrial fibrillation is associated with increased rates of death, stroke, heart failure, and hospitalizations, and degraded quality of life. By the age of 75, the incidence of atrial fibrillation increases to 10%. Atrial fibrillation-related hospitalizations exceed 460,000 per year, and atrial fibrillation accounts for 80,000 deaths per year. Direct costs to Medicare for atrial fibrillation-related strokes are estimated to be $2.6 billion. The use of oral anticoagulation therapy could prevent 19,000 strokes and save more than $1.1 billion in direct costs annually. However, the risk of stroke and thromboembolism in patients with atrial fibrillation is not uniform and is influenced by a variety of clinical and structural features which aid in risk stratification. A variety of classification schemes have been developed to quantify the risk of stroke in patients with atrial fibrillation and assist in the choice of antithrombotic therapy. In order to exploit innovation, Johansson suggests that diversity of thought and interprofessional collaboration is required. As such, I interviewed 3 people for this project: a nurse practitioner belonging to Generation Y, an MBA graduate who works at a local healthcare organization belonging to Generation X, and a healthcare administrator and pharmacist belonging to the baby boomer generation. They were interviewed to explore the concepts of innovation and collaboration referred to in the Medici effect and to gain insight into their respective understanding of mHealth. All of the interviews acknowledged the growing importance of smartphone technology and its relation to mHealth, with the NP specifically pointing to daily use of this technology to support clinical decisions and reference clinical evidence. All of the interviewees cited remote or off-site access to medical records as a distinct advantage of mHealth, citing both cost efficiency and improved effectiveness of care. And improved interprofessional collaboration and communication with HIPAA-compliant messaging was a common theme during my interviews. The three different generations demonstrated both early, consensus, and late adoption characteristics related to embracing mHealth and smartphone technology. The interview process reinforced that mHealth provides opportunities for enhanced network collaboration between healthcare providers and stakeholders, and the prospect of providing access to evidence-based information that can impact clinical outcomes. So what mobile app can help with atrial fibrillation and the need to consider oral anticoagulation therapy? We now turn to our health expert for further analysis.
Well, Michael, MedCalc is a mobile medical app that provides quick and simple access to a variety of medical formula and classification systems. The application was developed by two physicians and is available in a free format that provides access to 94 separate formula and classification systems in a variety of medical specialties. Embedded in the MedCalc mobile medical app is the CHADS-VASc scoring scheme. The CHADS-VASc abbreviation is a revision of the CHADS-2 validated scoring system and is a clinical predictive tool used to estimate the risk of embolic stroke or thromboembolism in patients with atrial fibrillation. The CHADS-VASc system is utilized in the 2012 European Society of Cardiology and 2014 American College of Cardiology guidelines for the management of atrial fibrillation. Specifically, the CHADS-VASc system assigns an aggregate point score based on a patient's history and comorbidities. Specifically, each of the conditions are assigned a score of 1, except both the age category and a history of stroke, TIA, or thromboembolic event, both of which carry a score of 2. As such, if a patient has a CHADS-VASc score of 2 or greater, oral anticoagulation therapy is indicated with either a vitamin K antagonist, such as Coumadin, or one of the more novel non-vitamin K antagonists, such as rivaroxaban or apixaban. So, Michael, what we have here is an evidence-based tool that will help risk stratify patients into either low, intermediate, or high-risk categories to help in the decision-making process when considering oral anticoagulation therapy in patients with atrial fibrillation.
So why is this innovative? The translation of research evidence into practice is a fundamental component of a clinician's responsibility and a leadership responsibility. In 2001, the Institute of Medicine demonstrated the remarkable lag between publication of research evidence and translation into practice. Evidence-based practice is the mechanism by which the chasm between research and practice can be bridged. The implementation of evidence-based practice, in and of itself, is complex. However, if there is a sufficient evidence base of research, translation of this evidence into practice is required. Innovation in healthcare is omnipresent, but perhaps the innovation regarding evidence-based practice is simply implementation of evidence-based practice. As anything that takes an average of 17 years to implement can barely be referred to as innovative. Worldwide, there are more than 6 billion mobile phone subscriptions. Approximately 1.7 billion mobile phones were purchased in 2012, of which 700 million were smartphones. Mobile applications will have an increasing role to play in mHealth. Evidence-based medical apps are tools, and MedCalc and the CHADS-VASc scoring scheme are appropriate examples of the convergence of mobile technology assisting in clinical decision-making. Thank you for watching this special health presentation on the CHADS-VASc News Network, CNN. I'm Michael Ward, and Anderson Cooper will be back tomorrow.